that you've been big in the UK circuit for a very long time. And there was an old video that surfaced of you spanking a woman with a belt.
Yep. Tell me you love me. Say it like you mean it. Say it like you mean it. You message one other guy ever again, whether we're together or not. You understand me?
This obviously has made it.
Hi guys, how's it going? Uduak here, connected people with policy. How are y'all doing today? Whoop, whoop. Y'all, today's video, we're doing a part 2 on today's video because I asked y'all last video, let me know in the comments if you want a part 2, and y'all said y'all want a part 2, so I said, period, I'm gonna give y'all a part 2. But before we begin today's video, let me go ahead and put the chapstick on because y'all already know this is like a must for me before each video because your girl be talking, and who likes to talk with chapped lips? Not me. Before we begin, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you're notified whenever I post a new video. Follow me on my social media. And yeah, y'all. So we're gonna go ahead and get straight into today's video. Today we are watching Candace Owens and Andrew Tate, part 2 of the interview. I never finished the whole thing, I'm not gonna lie. Because it's 3 hours, like I said before, so that's why I asked if y'all wanted a part 2. So this is part 2. We're not gonna finish the whole thing today either because it's at 1 hour and 45. It is 3 hours long, so we're gonna probably watch another 20 minutes or so of it today, and then if y'all want another part, then y'all just gonna have to comment down below again. Straight like that. So is it recording? It's recording. So let's go ahead and get into it. If you haven't watched the first part, I suggest watching the first part first before watching this, because this goes straight into where we left off last time. They was pretty much speaking about religion, current culture, and so forth like that. So yeah.
Let's get to your case that's happening today. So, and why conservatives are screaming about it in America, and why they feel that Tucker didn't push you enough on this case.
Push me.
Okay. So first and foremost, one thing I want to clarify for people that are watching this is that there seems to be this understanding that you are being prosecuted, or you're being indicted rather, for human sex trafficking charges. I've read the indictment, and I do want to make it clear the words human sex trafficking occur on the indictment, but then it makes it very clear that what they're referring to is they've kind of extended the term. It's not what we think about in America when you think of a bunch of children being put into a truck and taken over the border against their will. They're basically saying that if you trick a woman into coming into a country by using the lover boy method, then they consider that to be human sex trafficking. So the definition has definitely expanded over time.
Well, it's also ridiculously misogynistic to believe that women can't make their own decisions on anything. So the whole thing about it is misogynistic. But yeah, you're correct. That's a very important distinction.
Essentially what they're saying is we have a show in America called 90 Day Fiancé. That is the lover boy method, is women that that go over to the U.S. They're clearly coming for citizenship, but these women kind of get duped and they sponsor these people. This would be the same vein of what they're trying to describe. I've read it myself, of what human sex trafficking can be, which is
it's
a woman fell for you, fell in love, moved over here overseas, but it's only because you were very convincing. That is the definition given in the indictment of what they're referring to.
Correct. So I'll give a very quick rundown on the case. Everything from these old videos, old clips, my webcam company, things that happened 10 years ago have absolutely nothing to do with the criminal case. Absolutely zero. Anything you see from before 2021 has nothing to do with the case. The case against me is that from 2021, my brother and I, when we were already worth hundreds of millions of dollars and already successful and famous, created an organized criminal group. And our intention was to convince women to move to Romania to make TikTok videos so we could steal the TikTok money.
And TikTok, and they mentioned
Okay.
OnlyFans.
Correct.
On the indictment page. And they say that you did this using the lover boy method. And it almost reads, what's interesting to me and why I was compelled by this case is just that because they tremendously changed it. When they were investigating you, we were told that there was a woman who went to the UN who escaped your grip, and that, you know, she said, I've been held captive. And then after they investigated, they came up with what it sounded like regurgitated Andrew Tate videos. The lover boy.
I think with this, they have to be very careful, or even just as a listener, they have to be careful with not trying to make excuses and not trying to downplay it in a sense. Like, if that's what they said it is, and by all means, if that's what the paper says, if that's what Candace Owens read, if that's what Andrew Tate said, it's not nothing like that. Okay, cool. But also, don't downplay what you actually did either. You get what I'm saying? Like, it may not have been that level of human trafficking of what our minds automatically went to. That doesn't excuse what you did.
Method, which is in one of your videos where you're talking about women. So it seems like during that time where they held you in the cell, perhaps the initial case that they fed to the media fell apart.
Yeah, I believe what happened, and I have to be very careful what I say, but what I believe happened is in April of last year, Tristan and I had some visitors here from America who were only in the country for 5 days, made some very strange demands financially. When they were rejected, they called the American embassy and said they had been kidnapped. Those two women, we deem now to be professionals. One of them has accused 7 men of kidnapping in her life. And she's also lawyered up instantly from a left-wing NGO because she's currently being sued by us for false charges. And she seemed to be very well supported and funded. So I don't know if she was sent as an agent. We're not entirely sure. So there's a very interesting beginning to all of this in April. The Romanian authorities arrested us for precisely 2 hours and threw it out and knew it was all garbage from the beginning. The case remained open. Nobody understood why the case remained open. My lawyer made repeated requests to close the case. They wouldn't close the case and it remained open and absolutely and utterly dormant. When I was canceled, when I was deleted across all social media and canceled and lost my bank accounts, my Uber account, my Stripe account, my Gmail, absolutely everything. Literally within the same week, the case was picked back up, which was very strange. I was followed. They tried to find evidence of...
That's messed up. That portion, that's messed up. Ice Cube talked about that himself, that how an insurance company dropped him because they didn't like what he said. That's messed up for him to lose all of that. Like, all of that. That is highly messed up. And I said that in my last video too. I really feel like that should be illegal. Like, you can't just take away someone's like way of living, like their Uber account, their Google account, like their, like, come on now, that's a different level. Whether you
any kind of crime at all, they couldn't find any crimes whatsoever. They then raided my house for a second time with the intent of getting my electronics, which they got. They went through all of my electronics and they could find nothing of actual criminal intent. What they did find is my brother and I and our personal assistant, because at the time, if anyone who knows on the internet or has been around for a while will remember, my face was all over TikTok. You could not get rid of my face on TikTok. Me and my brother were explaining our strategy for how we got so big on TikTok to some friends of ours. They then said that we were forcing them to do the TikToks for our money, for our brand. They made this huge reach and said it's human trafficking because we're forcing women to make TikTok videos.
Yeah, so that's the part that registered to me as strange.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That part is very... Let me play it. Like that, I'm just... If you're just as confused as I am, comment down below. Maybe I'm just like, bro, something about the story on both ends is very strange. Like his story and what he was actually charged with. Like something about this whole story is giving very much off.
It started as a kid. We were told it was kidnapping, which is it's very serious, that somebody fled to the U.S. Embassy. This is the woman that you're talking about that you say you're alleging has also accused 7 other men.
Alleging, it's literally now on Twitter. You can see the the complaint we have filed against her. 7 men she is accused of kidnapping. She's done it with 7 different boyfriends who didn't buy her what she wanted. One of them killed himself.
Okay, wow. So
she's a professional.
Okay, so it's very strange that she comes over, she accuses you of kidnapping her, but then they decide not to prosecute that, but they fed that to the media.
If that's true, they need to lock her up. That's messed up. I feel like people who falsely accuse other people, this is just allegedly, I don't know like the ins and the outs, but if someone falsely accused somebody else in a crime they did not commit, whether it's a sexual abuse or whether it's a robbery, whatever the crime may be, they need to be held accountable. Like, you can't just go, you can't be
kidnapped someone,
like that.
She fled to the U.S. Embassy. Yep. Then all of a sudden we learned that they're investigating you, and the charges then go from kidnapping to, well, actually what he was doing is a lover boy method, which we're saying is human sex trafficking, and that these women didn't know what they were getting into. They thought that he was going to marry them. And actually what he wanted them to do was just to make TikTok and OnlyFans videos.
Yeah. So the Loverboy method, traditionally, the way it would traditionally work, the reason it was criminalized and added to the criminal code is that I would be a Romanian man and I would meet a Romanian girl. We would get married. Marriage is part of it. I'm not married to anybody. We'd get married. We'd move to a richer country. You go from a poor country to a rich country, let's say America. You put the girl into sexual work, let's say prostitution, and then I'll keep all the money and I'll control her or coerce her by pretending to love her. That's what they're saying. That's how it traditionally works. Mm-hmm. They've accused me of using the Loverboy method because basically I was a nice person. I was nice. That's the thing that most people don't understand about the law. It's so ridiculously subjective. If they want to weaponize it and use it to attack you, that's exactly what they'll do. They can accuse any man of using the Loverboy method if you send nice messages on a text message. If you're like, hey, baby, how are you?
So did you,
hey,
did you promise to marry these women?
No, I didn't promise to marry anybody. What I had was girls. The two girls who were in the criminal file asked me how to be famous on TikTok. I told them how to be famous on TikTok, and I spoke to them nicely the entire time. These two women have come out and made videos repeatedly saying we're not victims of anything. I don't know if you've seen them.
No. Okay. So just to back this up.
The victims
in the indictment.
Correct.
Have made videos saying we're not victims.
Correct.
I did not know that.
It's all over Twitter. In fact, on I think it's my pinned tweet, you can see the criminal case against Andrew Tate. The two victims who the DCAR are accusing me of using the Loverboy method on have made videos saying, he just told us how to do social media. We're not victims.
I've never seen any of them being aggressive or rude. They've always respected people.
Ai fost amenințată?
Nu. N-am fost niciodată. Dacă eram amenințată, automat nu mai eram idiotă să stau în casa asta. Suntem prieteni buni de 2 ani de zile, cam așa. Poți să mă treci pe mine ca și victimă, dacă eu n-am spus că sunt o victimă.
They gave this statement to the...
Wow. That changes things. Unless they paid them off to say that. But that's like, that could be a reach too. But even with that, that changes things. Oh my goodness.
Police. The police ignored it and said they're brainwashed. So they ignore it. So now we have a criminal case where we have girls who are saying they're not victims of anything. Me telling girls how to make money on TikTok, or not even how to make money, because no one makes money on TikTok, telling them how to get famous on TikTok, and them saying that I forced them for money, which doesn't exist. There's no money in the criminal file. There's no transactions. There's no financials, nothing. The girls themselves have given statements in my defense. They're being thrown away so they can continue with this case saying that I've brainwashed the women. So now we have, imagine in court.
Low-key, it's a lose-lose situation for him, though. Because even with the girls saying that, like how I said before, even that was my first thought, like, what if he paid them off? Like, even with the girls saying that, people can be like, oh, he paid them off. They're not reliable witnesses, even though they were two of the victims. But they disregard their testimony and they say, oh, he actually did do it. A, B, and C. The TikTok story is not lining. Like, it's a lose-lose situation for him regardless. Like, that's low-key. This is low-key crazy. This is low-key crazy. Oh, wow.
My brother and I and the two victims all on the same side.
It's insane.
Saying, nobody's done anything wrong. We're all friends. We were talking about TikTok accounts. And then you have the state with no witnesses on its own saying, you're victims and you're bad and you're going to jail.
So it seems like what they're...
See, that's why it's a lose-lose situation. Because even if he did have all the witnesses, if all the victims said the same thing, they still wouldn't take it in account. So it's like, dang. But I'm not going to lie, the story is still kind of fishy to me. Because it's like, TikTok, like, I don't know. Something is just... My inner self is just telling me something is off about this.
Doing then is this is where the content from 10 years ago is coming into play, where they're saying, well,
conflate.
Look, they're conflating this now. So even though these charges are from, and I read the indictment again, 2021, but look at what he said 10 years ago, which somehow confirms what we're saying. We don't have to listen to these women. Yeah. So I do want you to contextualize this video that has been circulating on the internet of you talking about the lover boy method. So we'll take a look at that right now.
Sure. You cannot get a girl to work for you having fun. So the recruitment process is the same as the PhD course. You message them on Instagram. The PhD course is my recruitment system. I don't mention webcam until after I've had sex with the girl. If you're on dates and you're trying to mention it and shit, it just doesn't work. It puts them off. I'd never do that. That's disgusting. I'm not a whore. It's just not gonna work. You continue as normal, no mention of webcam. You f the girl. After you f Girl, you do the PhD test. If she passes the PhD test and she wants to be with you, then you start mentioning things like, yeah, but you know, you're always busy, you're always at work, you can come work for me.
Okay, so first question, when was this video taken?
Yeah, so this video is from 10 years ago, and this is me explaining how having a webcam company, it's actually a larger video as a whole. I'm explaining how having a webcam company can affect your relationships and how it affects your dating life. It also explains the fact that one of the girls I was dating at the time was working on webcam at the time. And it's explaining my general, overall, explains my life and how things are affected owning a pornography company, because obviously a lot of women will be put off by that. It doesn't explain, it doesn't say.
I'm gonna be honest. No. That's why I was saying before, y'all, something seems off about this story. I understand this was 10 years ago, but we weren't born yesterday. Like, something is, I don't know. I don't fully believe Andrew Tate, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm gonna let him finish. But my spirit, like, something in me is telling me, like, this is bigger than what he's trying to make it, like, this whole TikTok thing, in my opinion, allegedly. Let me just put that out there, whatever case may be, to let y'all know it's my opinion.
I'd be very careful how I answer this question because I'm currently under an investigation, right? So I'd be very careful how I answer it. People are trying to chop it up and say that it says I am using the Loverboy method to somehow convince women to do things they didn't want to do. This is obviously not the case, and none of this is in the case file for a reason because it doesn't exist and none of these women are upset. But this is simply me explaining, it's actually a dating course I made a long time ago, and I'm a little bit embarrassed about it, to be honest with you, because it was 10 years ago and I was talking about women and dating and things in a way that I wouldn't talk about them anymore.
Right. So yeah, you look very young in the video.
I'm super young and I'm talking about, hey, when you sleep with this girl or you meet that girl.
You can't sweep this under the rug, though, like that. Like, I understand, like, 10 years ago, like, yeah, you're young, but that's still, I don't know. I'm not going to say that they coexist, like they are connected, but like I said before, something's not adding. Something is not adding, and they need to, like, I feel like Candace needs to interrogate him more, just a little bit more, because it's not.
Or you meet this girl on Instagram and I have a webcam company. I don't tell them I have a webcam company. And I just think all that's kind of crass and it's below me.
Yeah.
And I don't really like talking about it. And it's amazing how things change as you mature and you get older. But once again, I was a much younger man. I think if you were to take any 24-year-old and look at the stuff he puts on the internet, some of it's going to be stupid. And I think if you look at anybody who made things 10 years ago, some of it's going to be stupid. It's absolutely not really not criminal in any regard. There's nothing criminal about it. It has no bearing or any interest in the current case. But yeah, I was talking about how I don't mention I have a webcam business. The basic premise of the video was me explaining that I don't mention I have a webcam business ever, and that I'm Mr. Rich and I have this nice car and I go on dates with girls. And sometimes when I say I have a webcam business, some of them want money and they want to work for me. That's the basic premise of it.
Right. I'm
going to be honest, I don't believe him. I'm not going to lie, because two things. Like, yes, 10 years ago, context matters. He was 24. It wasn't like he was like 16, 17, 18. You're 24 years old. So you have a level of maturity to understand. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm 24 right now. So, like, you get me? You get what I'm saying? It's different if he was like 27 and it happened 10 years ago. It's like, yeah, of course, a 17-year-old, but you're 24. You're somewhat of an adult. You're still figuring life out. Yes, but you're somewhat of an adult. Second thing, he low-key, maybe I missed it, but it sounded like he contradicted himself. Like, one moment he was saying, like, yeah, it's his webcam business, this, that, and the third. But in the video, he says that he doesn't even bring it up until after he has, like, sex with the girl. So it's like, where's the correlation, in a sense? I don't know. Me, personally, this is not sitting well with my spirit. I'm going to be honest, I don't fully believe him, but that's just my opinion. Comment down below your thoughts on this situation specifically. The whole case was kind of shady to me. His story I didn't really understand his story, not gonna lie. But also the state going back with the charges, that was kind of like, wait, what is going on? So it's kind of like a big blur in my opinion, but it don't sit right with my
glad to hear that you're not proud of the video. And I think that that's one of those things where I say that people don't allow you to grow up from things that you've done or said in the past. And this is obviously when you were operating a webcam business. You're talking about...
And that's the whole thing about the human experience. We're supposed to grow, right? And we're supposed to make...
Last thing, sorry. I do agree. Grace, as y'all know, I'm really, really big on my faith. Grace is a big part. But also what comes with grace is acknowledging where acknowledging the truth. So in my opinion, I don't feel like he's acknowledging the full truth. But like I said, he could be. I just don't buy it. But also I do believe allowing grace for those who make mistakes, who aren't the same, who grow out of their ways. That's a big part of this life, because we're human. We move in, we have flesh. We struggle each day to fill our spirits and not our flesh. And sometimes we fall short of that. But that doesn't take away from acknowledging the truth of what you did to its full capacity. And yeah, I will just leave it at that.
Mistakes, and we're supposed to learn from them, and we're supposed to evolve as people. And I'm certainly not proud of the video. When I say I'm not sorry for what I've done, I don't mean it in a I would do the same things again. I don't mean it that way. I mean that at the time I was a lot less knowledgeable and I was younger and I made some mistakes. And just like I'm sure Jay-Z would never sell crack again.
Right.
Exactly the same reason I would never make a stupid video saying something so stupid again. I also could have never predicted the fact that I was going to become one of the most famous people on the planet.
Right.
I didn't see that coming. And if I did, I would have been a lot more careful with what I said and how I said it. And I do think that it's part of every person's journey to make some mistakes and learn from them and grow from them. And I kind of find it interesting that if I was a reformed drug addict, there'd be no problem. If I was a reformed murderer, there'd be no problem. If I was a mafia boss and I'd sit here and I'd killed 3 people and we were doing an interview and I was like, yeah, I used to kill people. I've done my time. I'm out of jail now. I get less flack than if I made a video talking about dating when I used to have a business that did webcam than I currently get, you know? So all I can do is understand that I was a younger man. I did the best I could at the time. And I was trying my very best to survive in a very harsh world. And I understand now that a lot of the way I said things, I certainly shouldn't have said them that way, but none of it is criminal.
Right. And it, again, has no bearing on your case today, but I want
There's literally no bearing. And it's conflation.
Video is being circulated without, like, people think that video was shot last week.
Correct. And that's what's so good, because it's good to mention that, because people are trying to conflate them. Because in the current case against me, there's no case. Everybody understands there's no case. We're now in a situation where if the legal system's completely fair, then the case is over. So what they're trying to do is they're going to conflate with old videos of mine, and they're going to try and muddy the waters and gaslight. And I will say that I am unhappy those videos exist, and I will say I wish I never made them. But I won't say that I'm sorry, because at the time I did the best I knew how to do.
And I think that's important for the young kids that are following you, especially the young men, to know. Like I say, I always hope that I talk about the mistakes that I made, and I probably wouldn't even categorize them as mistakes. It's just things that I did. And if I could go back, of course, I wouldn't do it. Hindsight's 2020. Yeah. But it's important for them to hear that. You know, I'm not proud of that, obviously. I'm not proud of it.
And that's why I never push them to the world, and that's why I never, propagate them in any way. Unfortunately, there's a weaponized attack against me where they still exist. And that's why I do so good to talk against them. I think that if you want to tell kids not to do drugs, you usually have a reformed drug addict to stand up and say, don't do drugs. I was a drug addict. It was a mistake. And I think that gives you a degree of credibility. So for me to sit here and say, be a lot more careful, one, with the way you say things on the internet, especially. 2, be a lot more careful with your interactions with women as a whole, especially in light of the Me Too movement and all these other things. Be very respectful. This is a small clip. If you watch the video in its entirety, I actually talk about extensively about how you don't want to make a woman feel pressured. You don't want to pick up a rape charge for no reason. If she feels upset or sad, make sure you get her a taxi home. I talk about all these things in the same video. So this is still the worst part of a very long form video taken out of context. However, I just think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from it. And yeah, if I have to be slightly embarrassed and a little bit taken aback by them so I can teach people the lessons, then I'm going to teach people the lessons. And the basic premise is I was explaining how I have a webcam company and how it affects my romantic life. And that was how it was all encompassing and went together. And I think when I made the video, I got like 28 views.
Yeah, and now it's being circulated.
And I'm being told I'm the worst person in the world by people who pretended they'd never done anything wrong for the last 10 years. And also there has to be a degree of time. I like to think there's a statute of limitations. Like, how long are you going to hold?
They will for the rest of your career.
I'm sure they will. And it's fine. And that's fine. But I mean, it's just like, okay.
That part is the unfortunate part. I do want to say I agree with the basis of what he's saying as far as grace, forgiveness, and like not being who you used to be. The only disagreements that I have is what the video actually, the purpose of the video. I don't think he's truly being honest with the purpose of the video, and I don't think he's being completely honest with this current case. That's just my opinion from what I'm gathering. But I do agree with him that I think people do hold things over your head, especially in this day and age where people act like they're perfect. People act like they're walking in perfection. I do think for us to grow is to acknowledge the truth and yeah, like, I don't know. Like I said before, like, the whole case just didn't sit right with my spirit. It's not sitting right with my spirit. I don't fully believe, like, that's what the video's about. But he said he's not proud of it and so forth. So we just got to take it for what it is. I'm not someone to, like, hound somebody.
10 years ago, 10 years, a decade.
Yeah, they're going to keep making you answer for it
Yeah.
in every capacity. I've seen that. God forbid you misspeak, you miss a word while you're saying something, they will circulate it over and over again. That's just the world of social media.
For me, what I feel is I don't feel guilty about them, but I do feel embarrassed because I don't feel like the way I spoke about women or the way I spoke about romantic relationships is my current view on romantic relationships. I think I've certainly matured. I was a young, brash, arrogant guy. This is what happens when you have a young kickboxer who's beating everyone up, making a bunch of money from the streets. I was a young, brash, arrogant guy, and I spoke in a way I perhaps shouldn't have spoke. And I'm sure if Jay-Z makes a song today, he won't speak about women and crack and drugs the way he used to speak about women and crack and drugs. It's just the reality of life, and you have to grow, and you have to take the embarrassment which comes from growing. So I will certainly sit here and make sure, I think the whole world understands that that's not my message. That's not what I'm teaching young boys today. The young boys who are following me today have no interest in these videos and don't watch these videos unless they're pushed by haters. And I think that overall I'm a net positive for the world. I think that men being so disenfranchised is, I want to say something quickly about the British school system. The English school system has attacked me, and they're trying to put me, they've spent billions of dollars trying to remove me from schools because young boys were running around saying, what color is your Bugatti, and repeating my sayings. I don't think I can really truly be held responsible for the fact that young boys repeat a saying, especially one that's not particularly aggressive. I think that shows that the young boys are looking for a hero and someone to look up to, and I feel like I'm filling a gap. And that's why I understand it's so important I say very good things and teach very good things. And I don't think I would have learned so much good if I hadn't been involved to a degree with the dark and the bad. I don't think there is light without dark. A lot of my lessons and a lot of the messages I give to the world come from the fact that I grew up in one of the worst areas of the Western world, surrounded by drug dealers, surrounded by real pimps doing real bad things, surrounded by broken homes. I learned all these lessons, and if I had never had those experiences and never grew up in that scenario, how could I be a person who's now teaching young men, disenfranchised young men, the realities of the world? How could I? We talked earlier about having a sheltered life. A sheltered life doesn't allow you to be the kind of man who can teach. So, yeah, I spoke in a way I shouldn't have spoke. Yeah, I regret the video completely. Have I ever hurt anybody? No. Has any of the girls who are being mentioned in that video come forward with anything other than defense of me? No. Nobody was actually hurt. It was just very brash, very arrogant, very bad delivery, which I regret.
I'm going to tell you something right now. If level with you as a human being, if I had to watch clips of me 10, 11 years ago, I would be red. Even the black girl go red. I couldn't even look. I wouldn't even want my husband to see it. So I feel your embarrassment.
Well, and
that's why a part of me when they were regurgitating these clips, I was like, this is so unfair. It's so unfair to say I'm upset. And by and large, the stuff that you're saying to young men, even if there are certain things I don't agree with, although I found it interesting that you said that peacocking is natural with men, because I think you're right. Now that you say it, I'm just a woman and I don't understand it. Yeah. But by and large, the stuff that you're saying today is not that. And so I think it's really, you got to be really careful if you're convicting somebody on who they were a decade ago.
Completely. And it's reformed drug addicts that will tell you not to do drugs, and it's reformed
alcoholics that will tell you not to drink
alcohol.
Yeah.
And I lived a life. I'm not going to sit here and try and, I think part of the reason actually, and it is part of my image, Top G is the name for any of the adults who are watching it. Top G is what they call me, my nickname. But part of it is the fact that I grew up in a bad area. Mm-hmm. I can fight. I have this money. I'm in this big compound in Romania with armed guards. And there's that degree of it. There's that nastiness and there's that rough to the edge, which makes my message so interesting for the young boys to watch. But that's because I came from a very rough life. And yeah, all I can do is apologize for the delivery, but I will not apologize for trying to do the best I could at the time in the scenario I was in.
Growing up.
Completely.
And I think that that's one of the things that sucks about being a public figure is every single moment that people are looking at it under a microscope. And I always say I want to give people permission. I always say I took the most liberal route to conservatism that there ever was.
Yep.
I feel like that's low-key hypocritical because we can't just say, oh, we shouldn't apologize for growing up, but Candace Owens has used things against certain public figures for the things that they've done in the past. I can't say with Andrew Tate because I can't confidently say he's done the same thing. But if we're saying this, then our actions have to align with that. You get what I'm saying? We can't just say, oh, we have to give people that grace, that breathing room to grow up and mature and learn from their mistakes, but our actions don't align with that. You can't, if you're going to say that, then like do as you preach, because she's personally has used things against certain people from what they've done in their past as well. So I don't think, like, what she's saying isn't wrong, but I just feel like your actions should match your words in this
and so I'm just not so quick to judge people.
And also, I like to think, and this is one of the things I do say, if the most advanced forensic detectives on the planet with years of effort, if the worst they can drag up is me talking about women in a slightly derogatory way, I'm kind of happy with that. And I'll be honest, because I scroll Twitter and I see all these liberals who attack people all day end up getting ousted for child porn or this or that, real things. And I'm like, thank God I have no skeletons for real, you know? So that's the worst version of me that anybody's ever going to see. And it was a long time ago, and I learned my lessons from it. And I do my very best to teach the lessons I learned, just like you said, to help people avoid going through the hardest way to possibly learn a lesson. And that's the reality of it. But that has no bearing on my current case. And I think that's what the confusion in my case is currently. People think that my case has something to do with that, even though they're completely unrelated events.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to clarify in talking to you, because I've realized that there's a lot of conflating going on. And a lot of it is because America, I feel, is just now being sort of introduced to you, whereas in the UK, you've been around for a while. And there was one, and I'm only familiar with your UK brand because of my husband, so I know that you've been big in the UK circuit for a very long time. And there was an old video that surfaced of you spanking a woman with a belt.
Yep. Tell me you love me. Say it like you mean it. Say it like you mean it. You message one other guy ever again, whether we're together or not again. You understand me?
This obviously has made it through the UK media for years, and I know what that is based on my understanding of what happened with Big Brother when you were on Big Brother. But Americans are just seeing this video in a long montage of awful Andrew Tate videos. So I want you to explain to them what that was.
Sure.
And again, this is another example of when the woman has already spoken out and clarified that this was not her being abused, but
absolutely, yeah. The woman's already come forward instantly after the video. She came forward and made a video and said, look, this is between me and Andrew, and he never hurt me, and I love him very much, and this is something that personally happened in the bedroom.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to say something about the video that's been released recently about me and my ex-boyfriend, Andrew Tate. Andrew is my still great friend. What you guys saw on the video, it's just what we used to do. It was just pure game. He's a great guy. He would never hurt anyone unless he's fighting. And I just wanted to let you know that this is a huge misunderstanding, because I heard he got kicked out from the house because of it, which I found very unfair. It's because it was just pure game. It's just
I didn't even know he was on Big Brother.
And it's actually interesting because when I got arrested, even recently, even though me and her are no longer together, she was also doing videos in my defense. She made a very recent video a few months ago saying, once again, very nice things about me.
He is not a human trafficker. He would never rape anybody, and he would certainly never ever human traffic anyone either, including his brother. They would never do such thing. I am just so shocked, and I'm so fed up with all of these lies.
And you're right about public life, having your
She's really pretty, by the way.
dirty laundry or your life thrown out there to the world is kind of interesting. And it's interesting how fast people throw stones, because I know how clean my life is compared to most people's lives. And I know that just from conversations I've had at dinner tables. I know from just dinner table conversations. You talked earlier about dinner table conversation people have in couples, etc. I've been sitting around in very private rooms with very rich people, and I've been in very important places and also some very low places. And I've heard people talk, and I'm like, if your life was on display like my life was on display, it would be a real circus. I mean, imagine you could be the son of a president. Imagine if their life was on display. And you could find out some really interesting things. So, me personally, yeah, these things are the same old regurgitated things from 10 years ago that have been previously explained.
that was also, I was going to say, can you date that video when that...
Okay, so we're going to stop here. It sounds like that situation doesn't hold a lot of weight to it. The one with his girlfriend. I was kind of shocked when I saw the video. I was like, YouTube let you post this? But no, I'm not going to really get into that portion because it seems like that was consensual. What they do in their bedroom, that's their business. But I do stand on what I said previously. Just for me personally, I feel like something is just a little bit off with the story. But like he said, or like Candace said, sometimes about allowing people grace, which I 100% agree. But also agree with like acknowledging the truth too. But yeah, I want to know your thoughts on the comments down below. Let me know if you want a part 3. This is already part 2. If you want me to keep going, we could keep going. Like, whatever y'all want. Comment down below your thoughts, just what you thought about this segment, specifically what you wished was done better in a sense. Your thoughts about the whole Andrew Tate thing. Me personally, I said it before, Andrew Tate, I never really followed him. I never really like cared for him like that. I never really went above and beyond to degrade his name or went above and beyond to support him either. So like a lot of the stuff I'm just not finding out about him too. So yeah, just comment down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you're notified whenever I post a new video. Follow me on my social media. Thank y'all all for the support, the continuous consistent support. I love you all. God bless y'all. Y'all have an amazing day. Toodles.